Hey everybody, welcome back to the forge. Beautiful day here today, a little breezy, but we had some rain last night and it got pretty cold last night. I thought it was going to be colder than this today, but anyway, beautiful day. Glad you could join me back in the shop today. Been on kind of a tool making kick here lately. If you watched the last two of my videos, we made this hold down tool for our vise. Hold down clamp that you just knock it down in there and on your material and it holds it. We made this cutoff tool yesterday in one of my latest videos. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to make what's known as a bottom fuller. And the reason I need a bottom fuller, I want to make a spring fuller too, for doing fullers in some of my knife blades. But this has been my bottom fuller up until now. And I mean, it works all right, but again, it would probably work better now that I have that hold down, but yet this is round, so the hold down is not good. But what I use it for is right here behind the ricasso on my knives. I like to put in this little finger grip. And so I've been laying this on the anvil, putting my stock on there and pounding it down, to make my little finger doohickey here. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I do that on all my knives. It defines, I figure out where I want my tang to start, and we knock that little finger groove in behind the ricasso. And then from there back is tang, so I've been telling you I have a knife build coming up, and rather than having to put the tongs between my legs and balance and juggle and everything, we're just going to make a bottom hardy, a bottom fuller. It'll be basically the same as this, but instead of being a cutoff tool on top, it'll be like this on the top. May not be this large on the top. Well, I don't know, it'll be pretty close. So anyway, I don't have a square piece of stock like I had. So what we're going to do today is make this out of a piece of leaf spring, which the general consensus is 5160. We don't need it that heavy, but that's what I have. We don't need that hard of steel, is what I'm trying to say. But that's what I have. I'm sure that this little bar of steel here that I've been using is just mild steel, like a concrete forming stake, whatever. Something along that line. Maybe a little bit heavier than a piece of rebar, but basically the same. So we're going to cut us a piece of leaf spring, and I'm going to cut it out to the general shape of the bottom fuller. But I'm leaving enough meat on this bottom part here so that I can forge this once again to fit in my hardy hole as nicely as this does, and then we'll have a T up here where we'll form our our actual fuller. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, I've got my piece marked out here. I don't know if you can see that or not with that angle where we're going to cut. This will be the overall length. This part up here will make up the actual tool, the fuller, and then down here I've found center, and I'm cutting this a little beefier than we need so that I can forge it down and drive it down into the hardy hole again and get a good tight fit like we did on that cutoff tool. So let's get our torch fired up here and get busy. Isn't that how that goes? without goggles, but I may need to put on a pair of goggles. There with my tongs. We don't need those today anyway because we welded a rebar handle onto our stock. Get closer. Well, we're going in up to about there. I think we're going to heat this up, drive that down in there now. Well, I think if we do that one more time, we'll have that part of it. Well, I'm deforming the tar out of the ends of my stock here, and I really don't want to do that, so we're going to go ahead maybe I can just work this down a little more. Alright, I think we're going to go ahead and let this cool off and zip that handle off of there. I can't break this one off. I did too good a weld on it, so who would have thunk I could weld that well? Okay, so I got that handle cut off, and I've already done one heat and drove it down in there up to the shoulder. Of course, like a dummy, I forgot to turn the camera on, so you missed that. So this is our second heat. We're going to go ahead and get this in the hole and try to get the bottom of these ears a little flatter. A little tougher to deal with without a handle on it, but we can handle that. And that looks pretty good, like we're just about where we want to be there. That's another project I need to do, is build some hangers for my tongs and what have you on the side of this stump. But you can see we've got that nice and flat across there now. So it's fitting in our hardy hole real nice. And I'm pretty happy with that. So now, there's two ways that we could do this, and I haven't decided yet how for sure that I want to. We could put this in our hardy hole like this, and just a second. We could take this and put it in our hardy hole, get a good heat on it, and take this piece of round stock here and just drive that down in there, maybe a third of the way, put a nice little, like a swage in there, and then we could go ahead and cut this to fit this, and we'd have plenty of room to weld it. Weld that piece right on there, The second way, and the way I think I prefer, is we just heat this up and taper these sides down, and just leave it one solid piece, and taper these down a little bit, and dome this off, and take our grinder and dress it up. But it's going to be awfully hard to make it look like that with a grinder. So I'm not sure how I want to do that. I'm going to have to think about that further. So I think we're going to go ahead and work this down a little bit. That end got kind of mushroomed anyway. But I'm thinking, maybe just for kicks and giggles, we can go ahead, get a good heat on this. You see how working that is kind of putting a little valley in there anyway. We may go ahead and just take that this piece of round stock, and just see how hard it is to kind of drive that down in there. That may be our best solution. I don't know. Well, we're getting our material thinned out. The old cat's out here photobombing us again today. What I've done here, I kind of jerry-rigged me a sort of a flatter here. I don't know how well that's going to work. Probably not very well, but as you probably have guessed, this is going to take a whole lot of grinding. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ground and worked on, and well, all right, there's our little bottom fuller. It's a little bit off center on the grind, but part of that was how I beat on this too. But got our top pretty rounded up nicely there. I didn't have to grind on it too long. I dug in my toolbox drawer and pulled out a really aggressive disc, but you can set it in there like that or like that, depending on how you want to use it on your anvil. And got a piece of steel here all heated up. Let's see how she works. I'd say we got us a fullering tool. What do you think? That'll be perfect for putting those little finger grips in my knives right there behind the ricasso like I like to do. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we wrapped up another little project in the shop today. I'm quite pleased with the way this turned out. That'll be just right. I don't know, I may grind this side and even this up a little bit. And maybe make it a little bit bigger, a little wider. That's almost smaller than what I care for, but that's no big deal. I can put it back in the vise and take my angle grinder and just kind of, you know, flatten this top down a little more and clean it up and make it a little bigger. But that sure makes it nice. Because the way I was having to do it before, put my tongs between my legs, hold that piece of stock I showed you, you know, and lay that on the vise, and I mean it was kind of a nightmare. I mean I'd hold my knife and my tongs between my legs, then lay that on hold it with the spine down, and take my piece of stock and put on there and hammer it down, and it'd want to flip over. And this is going to make it way nicer for doing that. So that's 3 little tools we've made for the Hardy in just the last few days. They all work well, and you know, that's a small anvil. I don't know if you can buy Hardy tools like these for that. I think it's only a 3/4, 7/8. I think that hole measured at about 7/8 of an inch square. So that's kind of an odd size, but hey, when you've got a forge and you've got some steel laying around, and especially pieces of leaf spring, that stuff is amazing. You know, make your own. I mean, I need to make a spring swage. Not a swage, a spring fuller, that I'll take a piece of flat stock, I'll take a piece of stock, maybe this one here, and you know, we'll bend it over, and I will take, when I do that, I will take this round stock and cut a couple of pieces off at the ends, and we'll weld it, you know, a piece about maybe that long, and we'll weld it right to the end of this. Or maybe we'll weld it like this. Probably weld it like this, so that I get more of the round stock on the bottom. But then we'll just take this piece of stock here and we'll probably fold it up and forge weld it and fit it down into our hardy hole, then take the other end, you know, and kind of bend it around and over, and we'll have two, you know, we'll take the other end and weld this on the other end of that also, so that it'll come down like a, you know, there'll be two of them. And that way we can stick a knife blade in between there and hammer a fuller into the side of the blade. So that's a project for another day though. I sure appreciate you joining me in the shop today and coming along for the ride. I don't know what we'll be doing next. I really need to get on that knife, but I wanted to make this swage, or make this fuller, before I got on that knife, because this, I can use this to put my little finger grip behind the ricasso there, and that'll make it really nice, much easier to do. And so I don't see a whole lot holding us back. I made the micarta last night for the scale winders and that, so I think we can get to work on that knife here pretty soon. I want to make a touch mark. I don't have a touch mark, and I took an old cold chisel that I had, and I brought it up to critical temperature in the forge today while I was waiting on other things to heat up, and behind the scenes I do all kinds of things in here when I turn the camera off that you guys don't see, but I have a bucket of floor dry over there. Works really well to anneal steel in. So I just heated that up because the cold chisel is going to be tempered and hard. I heated it up to a good orange glow and stuffed it down in that bucket of floor dry. It's just clay, I think, basically. Anyway, let that anneal slowly. And I don't know if I'll film that or not. I mean, it's just monotonous little work with files and a Dremel and what have you to make that touch mark. So I probably won't film that, but I want to get my touch mark done, because when my buddy ordered that other knife from me, I sent it up to him and it didn't have my stamp on it or anything, you know, and people are going to see that. So I have made a couple other things here and there for people that I put a you know, kind of put D West on it for D West Forge, but I want to design a little touch mark stamp, and that's what I'm going to use that cold chisel for. I'll grind the end of it off as big as I want my stamp to be, and then print out a little paper with my design on it, and then it's just, I'll glue that to the end, and then it's just a matter of putting it in a vise, and lots of meticulous filing and little hollowing places out with the Dremel and all of that. I've never made one of those. I'm going to give it a shot. I know you can order one. You can get online. There's places where you can order one. Send them your design. You know, and I've kind of researched it online, places for anywhere between, you know, $100 for a fairly simple design up to $300. So I figure before I'll spend $300, I'm going to try to make it myself. So, but like I say, I probably won't film that. There's not a whole lot to see. It's just tedious, you know, work in the vise with files and what have you. So, but I want to get that made before I make the knife, so that I can stamp my maker's mark in the side of that knife before I send the next one off. So, anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out in the shop with me today. Hit that subscribe button and see what's next. We'll see you next time in the shop.